So imagine this. You're coming home from a long day of work and you see a mob that is blocking the street. Now they're surrounding your vehicle. What do you do? Well, this highly depends on the state that you live in. And today I'm going to tell you how Florida is taking stand your ground to a whole new level, including an up to, meaning, hey, yeah, drive through if you feel threatened. Governor Ron DeSantis is not playing around when it comes to differentiating protest from riots, and he's making that very clear, sending a clear message across the United States, but especially those that decide to cross that line in Florida. Now you may think, oh, well, this is never really going to happen to me. You know, it only happens in the big cities, but I'm going to give you some statistics to back up that this absolutely does happen, and especially since 2020, heck, even going all the way back to 1992 and beyond. When these things get out of hand, people start acting like animals. Things can get really bad for you. And as a gun owner, you really need to know like what state you're in, what are the laws pertaining to this, because it is not the same everywhere. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys. Have you ever been in this situation? I'd really love to hear from y'all, man, or whatever your opinion is, leave it down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, here's what Ron DeSantis said when it comes to riots and protesters.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
And it backs up their law in Florida that basically protects you from civil liability if you ever have to flee because you have this mob pounding and breaking your windows and trying to drag you out of the car. They're saying, hey, you have a right to stand your ground, but not every state views it like this. There have been several incidences that have happened in Minneapolis where I think it was Jeffrey Rice was trying to flee one of these mobs, and he was initially, you know, a victim, but then reclassified as a suspect. There's another one in Minneapolis where this lady had to barricade through a mob. She was charged with second-degree murder. Seattle, California, the list goes on and on. Actually, it happens maybe more than what you think, right? It's not like an everyday occurrence, but anytime you have situations like this, it typically will spread. So there may be like events that happen, and then they'll try to get, you know, a bunch of people in a bunch of different cities kind of riled up. And the problem is the longer it goes, the more dangerous this gets. And since 2020, there have been 100 documented incidences where people have been assaulted or beaten or attacked inside of their vehicles, and then people that have been dragged out of their vehicles, going all the way back to 92, right? When this stuff is caught on camera. Truck driver dragged out of his vehicle. And in other states, you can be held civilly liable. They have no problem with that because their stand your ground is so weak. And remember that stand your ground and even castle doctrine, sometimes it comes down to how a judge interprets it. It's not always caught on camera. So you always have to remember that just because you have these things in place doesn't always necessarily mean that it's going to protect you. So Florida is trying to make it as clear as possible. Your car is an extension of your home. You can protect your castle and the extension of your castle with a firearm, but if you don't have a firearm, you don't have to be a lame duck and just sit there and take it. And yeah, that includes using your gas pedal, and if people decide to get in the way of a 4,000 or 5,000 pound car, it's a really bad day for them. And here's the thing, Florida makes it very clear, right? Grady Judge kind of set the stage for all of this. Perfect timing, of course, perfect person to illustrate. Here's a protest, here's a riot. Here's a protest, here's a looter.
Some people are slow learners. This is peaceful protest. This is violence. It's not acceptable.
You know, people have the right to protest. That is your right. But you don't have the right to block roads. You do not have the right to destroy property or loot or set things on fire or drag people out of their cars. It's like people use these protests as an excuse to literally just start burning the city to the ground. It's amazing to me how quickly people become semi-civil to animals in the matter of just seconds. I don't say that lightly, literally acting like animals. If you want to get your point across, that's one thing. I respect that. In the process, you're going to hurt other people, destroy their property. Florida is making a very clear stand against this. And I like this because it basically says, hey, protests that may happen in Florida, they may think twice about crossing that line. Because, oh, well, people actually could use their vehicle against me if we try to hurt them. And these people, there's probably a good chance that they're armed as well. Pretty powerful deterrent if you ask me. Many people's lives get ruined with situations like this. That's why I bring attention to it, because you're talking about thousands, tens of thousands sometimes or more to protect yourself, right? You were simply trying to defend yourself. Somebody accidentally got hit because they decided to crowd your car. You were in fear of your life. Now you're facing civil liabilities, and that is not right. And again, even in states where stand your ground and castle doctrine are in place, it depends on the judge. If it's not clear cut in their eyes, they may not offer you immunity. But I love the stance from Florida, just saying, hey, this is not going to be tolerated. In our state, you have the right to protect yourself, and we are not going to allow a family to sue you because something bad happened to a mobster that was literally trying to keep you from traveling, trying to hold you in place, trying to drag you out of your car. You will not be held civilly liable for that. Absolutely love it. Every time Ron DeSantis comes out, it's just like his timing is kind of perfect with the things he talks about and the restrictions that they're lifting in Florida. It's one of those really unique states that has leaned into gun control, especially under Rick Scott, and now you see Governor DeSantis reversing a lot of this stuff, which I definitely appreciate, and I know y'all do as well. So again, I'd love to hear from you, man. Have you ever been in this situation where you've been surrounded by these types of people? What happened? Leave your stories down below. Leave your opinion, whatever it is. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.